Good morning, everyone. My name is Brad Perry. I am the interim president and CEO of Calgary Economic Development, and I'm thanking you for joining us today for this important announcement from the Opportunity Calgary Investment Fund. Before we begin our programming today, we would like to take the opportunity to acknowledge that we are gathered on the traditional territories of the people of the Treaty 7 in southern Alberta. The nations of the Treaty 7 regions are the Siksina, Piikani, Kainai First Nations, who together form the Blackfoot Confederacy, the Chiki, Bearspaw, Wesley First Nations, who altogether form Stoney Nakoda First Nations, and the Tsuut'ina First Nation. The city of Calgary is also homeland to the historic Northwest Métis and to the Métis Nations of Alberta Region 3. We acknowledge all Indigenous urban Calgarians who have made Calgary their home. As a reminder, if you have questions for any of our panelists today, please put them into Q&A and we will address them as they come through, and I will be the moderator for today's event as well. So Calgary Economic Development and the Opportunity Calgary Investment Fund have been part of a number of big news conferences lately, and today's announcement is another important milestone for our Calgary local entrepreneurs and the Calgary ecosystem. For this announcement today, we're pleased to have with us Doug Schweitzer, Alberta's Minister for Jobs, Economy and Innovation, Mark Blackwell, the board chair of the Opportunity Calgary Investment Fund, Brad Johns, partner at Yaletown Partners, Dave Edmonds, the industry chair of the A100, and Christina Williams, the CEO of Alberta Enterprise Corporation. Our first speaker this morning is a great champion of Alberta entrepreneurs making investments in the business people of this province. Minister of Jobs, Economy and Innovation, the MLA for Calgary Elbow, Doug Schweitzer. Thank you, Minister.
Appreciate it, and thank you to everybody for being a part of this event here today. I think it really just speaks to the momentum in all things technology and innovation based in the province of Alberta. And a lot of the significant part of that concentration is in the city of Calgary. And the people that are on this line here today, they are the ones that are behind all of this. I'm an elected official and I was a lawyer before, so I'm a little bit new to the tech and innovation space. We're very good at Word documents as lawyers. Innovation is sometimes a little bit slower on that side. So it's been an amazing opportunity to meet so many entrepreneurs across this province. And we're starting to see that huge success across Alberta, whereas a few years ago, it was talking about an emerging innovation ecosystem in our province. And now it's a scaling and growing and exciting industry with so many successes along the way. I mean, so many of us know the stories now of Benevity, ShareWorks, and you've got the emerging companies, you've got like the Semens, Neo Financial, you've got Adabotics, so many exciting companies in the Calgary marketplace that are just scaling and hiring. And it seems like every month they're just growing rapidly, raising more funds. And then you've also got this next generation of companies as well that are just, raising their Series A financing, growing and scaling, going, over 100 employees. You got the Helsums, the Athenians. Just this last week as well, we had over 30 million in financings between Stellar, Gradient, Interface. And let's just put that in context. If we had financings of that scale 1 or 2 years ago, that would have been front page news in Alberta. It literally would have been front page news. And last week we had 3 deals of that size happening in Alberta. That goes to show the momentum that's happening right now in this marketplace in our province. On top of that, you've got major internationals. We had the Amazon Web Service announcement last week. We did the accelerator partnership with OCIF on plug and play, as well as the federal government. One of the largest and most successful accelerators in the world, establishing an office here in Alberta to help our companies grow and scale, reaching customers internationally. What you're going to see here today, and I'll leave to Mark Blackwell and Christina Williams to provide you with the details, but this is building on the partnership opportunities we have here at the provincial government, working with local counterparts like OCIF on funding arrangements like this. We put $175 million additional dollars into the Alberta Enterprise Corporation to attract further venture capital funding to our province. And this is exactly what we're trying to accomplish with the announcement here today. So thank you so much. And to all the entrepreneurs, we want to wish you well, keep being successful, keep hiring Albertans, keep growing and scaling. It's an exciting time for Alberta technology.
Fantastic. Thank you, Minister. Could not agree more. I'm now going to ask on our chair of the Calgary Opportunity Investment Fund, Mark Blackwell, to say a few words as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Brad. Thanks, Doug. Well, after an exciting announcement last week as part of our $7 million investment in Plug and Play to launch a headquarters here in Calgary, it gives me great pleasure today on behalf of the entire OCIF board of directors and team to announce a $6 million investment into the Accelerate Fund 3, one of the province's most active seed stage venture funds, as another extremely critical building block in the local innovation and tech ecosystem. This investment today comes out of the second RFP that we ran as part of OCIF to seek out qualified investment managers to provide institutional grade funding that will allow us to leverage other private and public investments in Calgary-based technology businesses. Accelerate Fund 3 is OCIF's 18th investment. Almost $56 million has been allocated to projects that have led to additional commitments and investments of over $330 million here in Calgary. With this investment today, OCIF is addressing a known investment gap in Calgary by increasing the amount of seed stage and pre-Series A capital available to local entrepreneurs. So what is the importance of today's investment? Today's investment marks the third leg in the stool in OCIF's commitment to growing the Calgary local ecosystem. First, we've focused a dedicated amount of effort and investment into upgrading the talent and skills ecosystem in Calgary to ensure that we have a foundation of programming available to help with workplace and skill transition through investments in SAIT, Alta ML, Lighthouse Labs. Second pillar has been investing in scaffolding, mentorship, programming, like our investment in Plug and Play, Harvest Ventures, Adabotics, and Finger Food. Today, the third pillar is in assisting and ensuring that all of these businesses that have been spurred have the right access to early stage capital to help grow and scale their companies here in Calgary. As we've witnessed over the years at OCIF, with over 250 applicants, that many of these companies are too early in the process. Therefore, we made a conscious decision as a board to work and invest in a qualified investment manager like Accelerate Fund 3 that knows the local innovation ecosystem in and out and will provide that capital to help these companies thrive. So what are the benefits to Calgary? Well, first of all, it's a one-to-many approach. This model will allow us to have a much broader impact on a higher number of companies. Through the life cycle of Accelerate Fund 3, we expect the organization to make 15 to 20 investments in Calgary-based businesses. In addition to that, it's domain expertise to help these companies scale. As we all know, capital is just as important as the domain expertise, mentorship required to grow these businesses. The Accelerate Fund 3 will be able to leverage the networks, know-how, and hands-on support that the team will provide in partnering with organizations that has a clear track record of scaling companies that will amplify our mandate and support of growth of these companies. And third, it's a return on capital. As we think about the legacy of OCIF and our ability for us to think about potential return on capital to our shareholder, we fully expect that the investment vehicle today will return capital to our shareholder and allow us to think about how to effectively recycle those funds in the future. It's also about leverage. As Minister Schweitzer mentioned, consistent with our messaging last week, with Plug and Play and our alliance with the provincial and federal government, today's investment marks a critical partnership with the City of Calgary and Alberta Enterprise Corporation, who have been critical investors in the inception and the funding of the Accelerate Fund. OCIF's $6 million investment today will be matched by $16.9 million in funding from Alberta Enterprise Corporation and key angel investors and family offices in the local ecosystem to ensure that we have leverage on our dollars, plus increase the impact of our investment in local-based businesses. So why the Accelerate Fund? As you'll hear from the following speakers, the Accelerate Fund has assembled a world-class group of investors and partners who are extremely dedicated to Alberta in helping to grow the thriving technology and innovation ecosystem. It became extremely transparent as part of our comprehensive due diligence process that a number of core components that made this fund stand out amongst its peers. First, this team has decades of experience in investing and identifying early stage technology companies and assisting these companies from early formation all the way through to late stage funding and exit. Second, entrepreneurs love them. It was consistent through all of our interviews with previous entrepreneurs that they felt that the Accelerate Fund not only provided capital at the right stages of the company's life cycle, but also genuine strategic advice, governance and mentorship, and key industry and customer introductions along the way. This team is extremely dedicated to helping grow the local ecosystem. It was apparent that this team is dedicated through and through in seeing the technology sector grow and have formed strong alliances with local-based incubators, accelerators, post-secondaries, and a very unique partnership and collaboration with A100, which we'll hear about later in the remarks. Presence and access is important. This organization has reviewed over 300 investment opportunities since the inception of the third fund. And lastly, another key differentiator with this organization was its engagement with the broader investor community as part of each deal that the fund completes. The Accelerate Fund 3 requires minimum 1-for-1 matching of angel funding for each investment, guaranteeing leverage and co-investors. Historically, the organization has seen approximate leverage of 3-to-1 with angel and family office co-investors. Therefore, we can expect for every OCIF dollar invested in a Calgary company, a minimum of $2.33 of investment will be generated from that dollar. In closing, I want to thank Brad, Arden, Yasmin, David for your commitment to helping to grow the Calgary technology ecosystem, and we look forward to partnering with your organizations in the years to come. I also want to thank Christina, Rebecca, and the entire team at Alberta Enterprise for your vision in the establishment of this fund. Lastly, I'd like to say a special thanks to the entire OCIF team, our board of directors, and the review committee for their dedication and patience through the process. Today's outcome will have a lasting impact on filling a critical gap in supporting the best and brightest in the city. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. I will now call on Brad Johns of Yaletown Partners. Brad.
Thanks, Brad, and thanks, Mark. And thanks again to the OCIF team for selecting the Accelerate Fund 3. It's a privilege for Yaletown and the A100 to be the manager of OCIF's investment in Calgary-based technology companies. With 20 years of venture capital experience, Yaletown has over $400 million under management, with our most recent funds being the Innovation Growth Fund 2 and Accelerate Fund 3. The Accelerate Fund was created by Alberta Enterprise Corp in 2012, with Yaletown and the A100 managing these funds since 2016. We operate the Accelerate Fund in a way that best supports local startups, creates jobs, generates revenues, and drives investment returns. Having been involved with the technology sector in Calgary for 30 years, I've been very encouraged by the quality and quantity of startups that have emerged, especially over the last decade. With the $6 million investment from OCIF, together with the capital from our lead investor, Alberta Enterprise Corp, we'll now be able to make around 30 investments in Alberta companies, of which approximately half will be based in Calgary. OCIF's capital will allow the fund to support more Calgary startups and help them scale. And given that we launched Alberta Accelerate Fund 3 in June of last year, OCIF will be able to capitalize on the 7 investments we've already made to date, 6 of which are in Calgary. Through the Accelerate funds, we've been able to invest in and support some great companies. One example is Passportal, founded by Colin Knox and his team. The company began as a simple 2-page website, which a few hundred IT consultants used to help them buy software support tools. As with all our deals, it was still early stage when we invested in 2017. But with the capital and a lot of team hustle, Passportal was able to grow fast, achieving triple-digit year-over-year growth. Because of this performance, Passportal was acquired by SolarWinds, a leading provider of IT management software, only 2 years after our initial investment. But the story doesn't end there. Last year, Colin and his team started another tech company in Calgary, Gradient MSP, and just closed a $10.25 million Series A financing last week to fund their rapid growth. They currently have 11 employees and plan to be at 60 by mid next year. Other examples of growing Calgary startups that we funded include Stellar Argo, which has developed a personalized fan data platform and recently raised $16.5 million in funding on the strength of their rapid revenue growth. They will be aggressively hiring to grow their team, which is currently at 40 employees, to more than 90 over the next year. They were also ranked as one of Canada's top growing businesses in 2021, according to the Globe and Mail. And Userful, which has developed a world-class audio-visual networking platform. With our funding, they transformed their business to a SaaS offering and have grown their team to 60 employees in Calgary. As for Accelerate Fund 3, in addition to Gradient, some other recent investments include Calgary up-and-comers PayShepherd, which has developed a contractor billing technology that can save millions for big industrial clients. The founders initially ran an industrial construction company serving pulp mills. They identified the risks to the mills due to overpaying contractors and decided to develop technology that captures data from high volume contracts and timesheets to detect and resolve overbilling. It's a classic story of people in a traditional industry using technology to make it more efficient. And lastly, there's Simplicity, a fintech company reinventing the mortgage application process. Simplicity's vision is to connect the data and stakeholders through a platform that lets clients apply for a mortgage in 30 minutes and wait just hours for approval. If successful, their platform has uses beyond mortgages into other credit products and insurance. So what does this mean for Calgary startups today? We want to let the startup community know that we're here to make early stage funding more accessible and transparent. Our application process for the fund is online, efficient, and we take pride in following up with every applicant, whether there's a fit or not. When we consider an investment in a particular company, we conduct a professional due diligence process and are happy to share our findings with other investors to help with their decision making. And our strong local Yaletown and A100 networks not only help to evaluate opportunities, but ultimately support the startups once we've made an investment. We invite Calgary startups who don't already know the Accelerate Fund to get to know us, and we look forward to making OCIF success Calgary's success.
Thank you, Brad. I would now like to ask David Edmonds, the industry chair of A100, for some comments. David?
Yes, thanks, Brad. Excuse me, it's an honor to be here today as the industry chairman of the A100 and to been selected to manage OCIF's fund along with Yaletown and our primary investor, Alberta Enterprise. I'd like to not only thank the OCIF team in the city of Calgary, but in particular the selection committee for all their hard work and due diligence that allowed us to be selected. When the A100 was founded in 2010, it was just a handful of entrepreneurs who wanted to give back to the community in which they had found success, with a goal to grow Alberta's burgeoning tech industry through mentorship, investing, and expanding networks through individual meetings, our annual tech event, Accelerate AB, and now even more so with far-reaching impact via Start Alberta. We're now an organization of more than 100 members, founders of companies like Solium, ShareWorks, Benevity, Absorb LMS, Decisive Farming, and Simon. Our up-and-coming associate members, who are all high-performance leaders, have created great companies like Bobby's at Virtual Gurus, Brienne or Orpix, Vince at Stella Largo, and the team at Athenian. And we've seen our growth, seen our local and provincial tech industry grow exponentially in the last few years. And today, the A100 operates the new Start Alberta deal flow platform to support those people, the most comprehensive database on startups and funding in the province, providing real-time data for founders to find investors, find the talent they need, while providing key stakeholders like the City of Calgary, Calgary Economic Development, and the province the data they need to showcase Alberta's startups to the world. But our work is far from done. In early 2020, in the midst of COVID and some of the other economic challenges the province was facing, the A100 set a provincial-wide call to action of establishing 75,000 new tech jobs by 2031. Through this $6 million investment from OCIF, we're excited to continue driving toward that goal and our mission of supporting the next generation of tech entrepreneurs and continuing the drive to diversify Alberta's economy. Alongside Yaletown and Alberta Enterprise, this funding will allow us to find and invest in even more local Calgary founders and provide them with the experience and connections via the A100 membership to ensure the long-term growth of our industry. Again, I'd like to thank the city and OCIF for supporting us through this funding, and we look forward to expanding our presence and investments in the city. Brad, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, David. I'd now like to ask Christina Williams, the CEO of Alberta Enterprise Corporation, for some remarks.
Excellent. We know that most of the technology companies here in the province are very early stage. And for these companies to stay and grow here, they need access to capital. They also need mentorship and coaching. We created the first Accelerate Fund in 2012 with this in mind. And we had the purpose, the specific purpose, to co-invest with angel investors and to add the help from the A100. Since then, the Accelerate Fund 1 and 2 have invested in 25 Alberta companies, many of which have gone on to be very successful, and a couple of them have been mentioned already, but a few others are Decisive Farming, SAM, and Circle Cardiovascular. These are companies that are creating jobs for Albertans, and they're also solving some of the technology problems that we as Albertans face on a daily basis. We launched the Accelerate Fund 3 with a $15 million investment from Alberta Enterprise Corporation, and we're very excited today to have OCIF and the City of Calgary join the fund. These investments announced today will mean that we can fund more companies, more early stage technology companies that are so important and vital for our economy. Thank you very much to Yaletown and the A100 for managing the fund, to the Minister for providing capital to Alberta Enterprise, to the City of Calgary and OCIF for making this investment, and to all the entrepreneurs out there, go to acceleratefund.ca and put in your application, and let's get this show on the road.
Absolutely love that, Christina. Speaking of the show on the road, if you have any questions at all for any of our panelists this morning, please put them in the Q&A and we will address them in the order that we've received them. Right now, we don't have any other questions, but I will keep the line open for a few more minutes to see if we do have some. Mr. Minister, did you have any other further closing comments for us while we look for questions?
No, just again, just want to say thank you to everybody for making this announcement a reality. And it's just a testament to the momentum that we're seeing in the tech sector overall. And I think it's to David's point, we're seeing tangible diversification of Alberta's economy. And a lot of that is being driven by the technology and innovation space right now across Alberta.
Absolutely. Thank you, Minister. And your support has been invaluable to the community itself as well. I see that we have no questions in the queue and nothing coming through. So I will thank everybody on the call today. Christina, thank you, Minister. Thank you, Brad, David, and Mark. Again, thank you very much. And as Mark iterated, a great big thank you to the entire team on OCIF who have been working tirelessly over the last 6 months to start to make these announcements as you're seeing, and look for a few more coming in the next little while as well. So thank you again, everybody. Appreciate it, and hope you have a wonderful rest of the week.